The Quiet Revolution, How Black Women Are Rewriting the Rules of Entrepreneurship. Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. I want to begin by acknowledging the extraordinary woman whose insights have fundamentally transformed my understanding of entrepreneurship in America today. Lakeisha Jackson. Her groundbreaking research and relentless advocacy have illuminated a revolution happening right beneath our feet, one that most of us have failed to notice. Lakeisha isn't just documenting change, she's catalyzing it. Through her methodical data collection and fearless truth telling, she has created pathways for thousands of overlooked entrepreneurs to be seen, funded, and celebrated. What she revealed to me in our extensive conversations challenges everything we think we know about who's driving business innovation in this country. We've all heard the narrative, haven't we? Black women face insurmountable barriers in business, limited access to capital, minimal representation in leadership, systemic biases at every turn. These stories aren't wrong. They reflect very real challenges that persist day after day, year after year. But here's what Lakeisha helped me understand: these stories are dangerously incomplete. Here's what might surprise you. What surprised me: Black women are actually among the fastest growing groups of business owners in America today. In 2024, nearly half of all new businesses were started by women, with Black women playing a central driving role in this surge. This isn't just incremental growth, it's a seismic shift happening right beneath our feet, reshaping the very foundation of American entrepreneurship. This revelation challenges a fundamental assumption many of us hold, that systemic obstacles inevitably prevent progress. Instead, what we're witnessing is a powerful demonstration of how Black women aren't just entering entrepreneurship, they're reimagining it, reinventing it, and reshaping entire industries through innovation and resilience. Let me be absolutely clear: the barriers are real, the playing field remains dramatically, shamefully uneven. But something remarkable is happening despite these challenges, not in their absence. And that's what fascinates me. When conventional wisdom suggests a group should be held back, yet they surge forward anyway, that's when we need to pay attention. That's when we need to ask, what are we missing about human potential and determination? The entrepreneurial landscape is transforming before our eyes. Black women and younger generations are driving a historic rise in business ownership that is fundamentally shifting what leadership looks like across multiple industries. This isn't just about representation, though representation matters profoundly. It's about the introduction of new perspectives, new solutions, and new approaches to problems that have persisted for generations because the same minds have been trying to solve them. Yet here's the contradiction that should trouble us all, that should keep us awake at night. Even as more businesses are launched by Black women, they still receive a disproportionately small share of venture capital funding. Just 2.3% of global VC funds, about $6.70 billion, went to female only founding teams as recently as early 2025. The gap between entrepreneurial activity and financial support represents both a moral failure and a massive missed economic opportunity. Closing this gap isn't just about fairness, though that would be reason enough. It represents a multi-trillion-dollar economic opportunity. We're literally leaving money on the table by failing to invest in these founders. We're denying ourselves innovations, products, services, and perspectives that could transform industries and lives. But there's hope in this story too. Visionaries have proven that leveraging research and storytelling can transform overlooked entrepreneurs into funded leaders. Their work shows how intentional action paired with credible data can drive systemic change. Let me tell you about Catherine Finney, whose journey Lakeisha Jackson highlighted in our conversation. Catherine founded Genius Guild after years of championing diversity through her blog, The Budget Fashionista, and her tech accelerator, Digital Undivided. She confronted the persistent lack of funding for Black women entrepreneurs, not with complaints, but with data and solutions. Catherine used rigorous data collection to expose gaps in the venture capital ecosystem, then built organizations specifically focused on supporting these founders. The results? She helped over 2,500 Black women secure more than $100 million in funding and became a national advocate for equity in entrepreneurship. Her path wasn't straightforward. She started with a successful fashion blog, launched Digital Undivided in 2012, then sold her blog in 2014 to scale her impact further through Genius Guild. She became a nationally recognized leader who influenced venture capital conversations using real world results. What makes Catherine's story so powerful is that she demonstrated that targeted support plus credible data can unlock transformative opportunities for marginalized communities. She didn't just identify the problem, she created solutions that worked. She showed us all what's possible when talent meets opportunity. This brings me to another fascinating trend Lakeisha shared. By 2024, nearly half, 49%, of all new U.S. businesses were started by women, with AAPI and Black owned ventures leading growth rates. This isn't happening in a vacuum. These entrepreneurs face significant challenges. Industry stereotypes, limited recognition. Many lack traditional networks or generational wealth needed for startup capital, but they found creative solutions. They leverage workforce experience and higher education attainment among millennial and Gen Z cohorts. They focus on community services sectors where their expertise was strongest. The result? Record setting levels of new business creation among young minority female founders and increased visibility across healthcare and social assistance sectors, especially. This shift began as millennial and Gen Z participation rose due to improved educational access in the post recession era. Social media amplified their voices and businesses nationally. Within just 5 years, they changed demographics at the industry level, a rapid transformation rarely seen historically. Their impact extends beyond their own success. They've inspired other minority groups while challenging legacy perceptions about who leads successful companies. They've created new models of leadership that prioritize community impact alongside profit. But here's where the story becomes troubling again. Despite this progress, the funding gap remains staggering. Only 2.3% of global venture capital funds went to female only founding teams as recently as early 2025. This represents just $6.7 billion out of hundreds of billions invested. Entrenched gender bias within investment circles has led many promising startups, helmed by minority and female founders, to be overlooked or undervalued. Some solutions are emerging. Advocacy efforts have increased transparency through public reporting on fund allocation. Some investors have begun setting targets specifically for underrepresented groups. These efforts have raised awareness and begun shifting dialogue around investment criteria, but much work remains before parity is achieved. These disparities persisted even during periods when overall startup activity was booming among diverse populations, including record numbers from young minority females in the post pandemic recovery period. While incremental gains have been made, thanks largely to advocacy and data driven campaigns spearheaded by leaders like Catherine Finney, closing this gap could unlock more than $5 trillion globally if parity were reached. This represents a win win scenario economically and socially. What's particularly striking about these findings is how they challenge our fundamental assumptions about progress. We often think of systemic change as requiring the removal of barriers first, followed by advancement. But what we're seeing is that advancement is happening despite persistent barriers, and that advancement itself is becoming a force for dismantling those very barriers. This isn't to minimize the obstacles. The funding disparities remain unconscionable. The playing field is far from level, but there's something profoundly inspiring about the determination and innovation that's driving this entrepreneurial surge. It reminds me of something Lakeisha Jackson emphasized in our conversation. Data driven advocacy can break barriers. When we combine compelling personal stories with rigorous research, we create a powerful catalyst for change. We transform anecdotes into evidence and evidence into action. This approach has proven effective because it addresses both the emotional and rational aspects of decision making. It's not enough to know intellectually that investing in diverse founders makes financial sense, though it absolutely does. People need to connect emotionally with the stories of these entrepreneurs to see their potential and passion. At the same time, it's not enough to be moved by individual success stories. We need the data that shows these aren't isolated exceptions, but part of a broader pattern that deserves systematic support and investment. So I stand before you today with a challenge to see what's really happening in entrepreneurship in America, a challenge to question the narratives we've accepted about who can succeed and why, a challenge to recognize that the next generation of business leaders doesn't look like the last one. And that's not just okay, it's essential for our collective future. If you're an investor, look beyond your traditional networks. If you're a consumer, seek out and support businesses owned by diverse founders. If you're an entrepreneur yourself, connect with organizations specifically designed to support founders from underrepresented groups. And if you're simply someone who cares about creating a more equitable and innovative economy, share these stories, challenge the incomplete narratives, recognize that supporting diverse entrepreneurs isn't charity, it's smart economics and essential for our collective prosperity. What bold step will you take tomorrow? Not next week, not next month, but tomorrow to help close the opportunity gap facing talented but overlooked innovators? How will you use your voice, your wallet, your influence to ensure that the quiet revolution happening in American entrepreneurship becomes a thunderous transformation that no one can ignore? The future of business is being written right now by hands that have historically been denied the pen. The question is, will you help them write it or will you stand in their way? The choice is yours. The time is now, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Thank you.